Well, I think science fiction has really sort of moved some people towards an interest in science. In particular, before it was either Jules Verne or Wells, and probably more recently Clarke or Asimov. But modern science fiction, at least in my opinion, deals more with this sort of utopian and dystopian societies, and there I don't see much room for chemistry. Science fiction is a very broad term, so some things are really, have sort of fantastic science behind, fantastic in the sense that you will be able to achieve them, like, the trip to the moon or something like it. But others, as I say, they deal with more these sort of violent, utopian and dystopian societies, and I am not that very keen. And in particular, I'm not sure whether there is a big room there for chemistry.
Great. A little bit farther down your point of view.
So, concerning science fiction, I'm a big supporter of it, because I think as long as it's clear that there is a distinction between what you see on screen and what is the reality of science, I think there is nothing wrong with having the whole society dreaming somehow of a better future or a different future. As long as the message is clear that sometimes what we see is not the reality of the real world. I think that's the most important thing. And again, explaining science to people that do not have a scientific background is quite complicated. But I think we really need to make the effort, and this has to be done, I would say, since the first years, to try to have people interested in the problems of science. It doesn't have to mean that people actually go into science, but understand that science is actually around us and that our life depends on scientific advancement, whether it is taking a plane or the type of food that we eat or the amount of, or any medical related issues, let's put it that way.
I think I'll start my answer by saying anything that gets people thinking about science, I think is a good thing in general, as a broad sweeping overstatement. If you look at sci-fi films that are around in the 80s or the 70s, they perhaps portrayed science as, we would be a lot further on than we currently are. For example, we don't yet have flying cars. So it's kind of expectation management on one behalf. But I think getting the general public to engage in science, getting to think about different issues, that's important. One film that springs to mind is a film called Waterworld, which starred Kevin Costner in a world which is covered by water. And whilst I don't think explicitly referred to, the idea of climate change, and especially islands in the Pacific, facing that fate in the next 50 years is a really valuable one for people to take on board.